The Rangers are here, one of the deputies told the sheriff, his words pulling Cassie back to the present, where her mother and partner were dead, murdered. 3 uniformed men walked into her mother's home, but the one who her eyes landed on was Alan Wade, the man she'd shared coffee with just a few days ago. In charge, he already had on gloves, clearly anxious to get the investigation underway. The sheriff stood. "Hello, Ranger Wade." "Sheriff Tyler." The ranger's eyes locked with hers. "Sorry for your loss, Cassie. We'll get this wrapped up as quickly as we can." "Thank you, Alan." Though she had only spent a little time with him, she was glad that he was the lead ranger instead of a stranger. "I'm sorry, but I have to take your weapon and ask you a few questions." "I understand." Knowing the protocol, she stood and handed him her gun. The chief and her captain also stood, on each side of her, as if protecting their own. They introduced themselves to Alan. "As you clearly know, Cassie, you must be relieved of duty until we finish this investigation." He smiled, but it didn't put her at ease. "I'm sure it won't take us long to complete our work and get you back on the job." "Her partner and mother were just killed, Ranger." Her captain's tone had an edge to it. "Our department will give her all the time she needs, regardless of when you finish." "Of course." Alan turned to his crew. "The ME's team will be here shortly to transport the bodies to Lubbock." Reality slammed her back into her body, and the numbness vanished, replaced by the crushing sense of loss. "You're taking my mother to Lubbock?" "As procedure, Cassie. I'm sure you'll need to make funeral arrangements, so I'll ask the ME to finish quickly. You should have your mom back in 48 hours. Alan asked her a few more questions about what had happened. She repeated what she'd told the sheriff earlier and again avoided sharing what she now knew to be true regarding the intruder. "My mother's murderer is Morvicti, a member of the Brotherhood of Purity." "Ranger, I've been called to Mrs. Wright's home on numerous occasions." The sheriff had been so patient with her mom, even when the rest of the police had chalked her calls up as pure and utter insanity. He was a good man. "She was afraid of her own shadow. We never found any indication of intruders until now, but I'm wondering if this creep was stalking her all this time." Alan wrote on his notepad. "We'll look into it. Stalker or not, the scumbag was taken out by this excellent police officer." Her captain once again put his arm around her shoulders. O'Malley and the captain had been good friends, having served on the force since they were both rookies. So close, in fact, that the captain had named his son Chuck. Cassie could see on the captain's face the grief they shared. He clearly was trying to comfort her to keep from falling apart himself. The sheriff rubbed his chin. "I'm trying to make some sense of why this tragedy occurred. Using an axe as a weapon is unusual. Perhaps this guy is a serial killer. Are there any unsolved murders involving an axe that the Rangers are working on?" Alan shook his head. "Sheriff, I can assure you that we will be revisiting all murders to see if there are any similarities." "Any idea why the son of a bitch wore a black mask?" "Other than the fact that he didn't want to be recognized," Alan said flatly. "I doubt it stands for anything." Part of her wanted to scream, to tell Alan and everyone in her mother's home what the black mask really meant, but she kept quiet. They would never believe her, like she had never believed her mom. "Cassie, you've been through enough tonight. If I have more questions for you, I'll contact you later." Alan placed one of his gloved hands on her shoulder. "I still have your number and address if I need to reach you. Please don't make any plans to leave town in the next several days. I will stay in touch with you while I finish this investigation." "I'm not going anywhere." On the verge of crying again, she somehow found the strength to keep the tears from falling and her voice steady. "As you said, I have a funeral to plan." When the medical examiner's team arrived, the captain led her to the porch. "You ready to leave, Cassie?" "I'm past ready, yes, but my car is parked at the station. I came with O'Malley." The captain's tone was somber. "I'll take you back to town." "What about the chief?" "We came separately. Come with me." Seeing his car next to O'Malley's truck was difficult to look at. As they drove back to San Angelo, all she could see were mesquite trees and cactus when the lightning flashed all around them. The captain turned on the windshield wipers. "I spoke with Helen before I got to your mother's house. We think you don't need to be alone right now. Why don't you spend the night in our guest room?" Thank you for the offer, Captain, but I really just want to be alone. Okay, but if you need us, just call, no matter what time. Passing the steakhouse near Twin Buttes, she thought about how much had happened since she and O'Malley had pulled over the black Chevy Impala. That seemed like a lifetime ago, though it had only been hours. Turning away from the captain, she wiped her eyes. O'Malley had been so close to retiring. Back at headquarters, the captain tried again to convince her to stay with him and his wife. She thanked him, but declined. The 10-minute drive from the station to her apartment was filled with visions of her mother with an axe implanted in her chest, and O'Malley's eyes, wide and fixed forever, in his severed head. Because of the late hour, most of her neighbors were home with their vehicles taking up the majority of the parking spots. Since her complex didn't assign any, she had to park 2 buildings away from her apartment. Normally, that wouldn't have bothered her. But now she knew the black masks were real, and she no longer possessed a gun. Glancing in every direction, she rushed to her place through the pouring rain. With trembling hands, she unlocked her door, shut and relocked it, and immediately collapsed to the floor, sobbing, "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. Why didn't I believe you? None of this would have happened if I had." Thinking about what O'Malley would do in this situation, she dried her eyes. First, he would arm himself. She walked into her bedroom and pulled out the gun she kept in her nightstand. The magazine was full. Second, he would double-check the apartment. She inspected her closet, under her bed, everywhere. Finally, she made sure every window and door was locked and secure. Third, O'Malley would scan the area outside for any possible perps. She looked out her windows and didn't see anyone. Who would be out in such a horrible storm? Only people who wanted her head. Her cell buzzed, making her jump. "Hello?" "Cassie, this is Helen." The captain's wife was a kind woman who brought cookies to the station for all the officers at least once a week. Had it really only been 2 days since O'Malley had secretly confiscated several chocolate chips for her from Helen's latest plate? Despite the unspoken rule of 1 cookie per officer, O'Malley always stole extra for her, knowing how much she loved them. God, what am I going to do without him? "Cassie, are you there?" "Yes, I was thinking about how much O'Malley enjoyed your cookies. We're all going to miss him so much. You two were so close, and Chuck always thought of you as a daughter." Helen's voice shook with emotion. "Sweetie, are you sure you want to be by yourself tonight? I could put on a pot of coffee and stay up with you if you need to talk." "It's so very kind of you to offer, but I haven't had a chance to process any of this. I really need to be alone for now, but I promise to take you up on that offer later." "I understand, Cassie, but just know we're here for you." "Thank you. Mom, some humans want to help." She put her phone away and then remembered her mother's last request. She pulled out her mother's phone and opened up the contacts. Scrolling down the R's, she didn't see a Rom, but did find a person by the name of Romulus. What a strange name. That had to be the man her mother had wanted her to call. She clicked on the name. It rang twice. "Serafina?" The deep male voice answered. "Are you okay?" She wondered what country the man might be from. "This is her daughter. Are you Rom?" "I am. What happened?" She couldn't bring herself to say out loud her mother was dead. "My mom was attacked." "Oh, no." The shock and worry were evident in his voice. "She told me to call you, but I really don't know why." "Cassandra, I'm your mother's cousin. I need you to tell me exactly what happened." Through the tears, she told Romulus about the attacker and all that had gone down at her mother's home. Her chest was on fire with both guilt and remorse when she finally was able to say, "My mom is dead." "Did you give her blood?" "Yes, just a few drops before she died." "That's good." He was more Victi. Was giving blood a type of last rites for his kind? My kind? "Listen closely, Cassandra. You are in danger. You are not safe staying in San Angelo." "I know. My mother told me the truth." "Go to Lubbock. I have a trusted family member that lives just outside the city limits who will protect you." "Is he more Victi?" "He is. I'm sending a picture of Lucretus and myself to your mother's phone." Another strange name. The cell beeped, and she took a look at the men in the photo. They both had dark hair, green eyes, and sported warm smiles. The resemblance was undeniable, not just to each other, but to Cassie and her mom, too. There was no doubt she was related to them. Lucretus is the one on the left, Cassandra. They were both quite handsome and appeared to be in their early 30s, but they were Mervicti. Age was difficult to determine for their kind. Mom wasn't lying about being hundreds of years old? His real name is Lucretus, but he goes by Charles Olive in this era. I will rendezvous with you and him at the medical examiner's office in Lubbock. Why there? We must retrieve your mother's body as well as the body of the intruder. We cannot allow humans much time with them. It's far too dangerous. When Ram repeated her mother's words, too dangerous, she trembled. Her mom trusted him, and now she must as well. He was her only hope, her only connection. With Ram, she didn't feel so alone. He was family. Lucretus's house is on County Road 1640. Please do whatever he says until I get there, Cassandra. The Brotherhood knows you exist. They have operatives everywhere and will be searching for you. Trust no one.
You've been listening to Morvicti Execution, Episode 5, Family of Shadows. New episodes drop every Monday and Friday, or you can binge the full series early on patreon.com/LeeSwift. If you're enjoying the story, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell to stay in the loop. Thanks for listening. See you next time.